Vunga, ama Nunatia Vumio Nakumik, thank you to the United American Indians of New England for having me here today. I would like to acknowledge that we gather on Wampanoag territory and to pay my respect to the elders, both past and present. I'm humbled to be a guest on your lands, and as a guest, I commit to standing with you as we fight colonialism in all its many forms. I mourn with you today on this National Day of Mourning, and I lend my voice in the call for truth. Part of why we're here is to dispel myths about Indigenous peoples and to examine the reality of what we face as Indigenous peoples today. So I'm going to talk to you about the struggle of Muskrat Falls. My name is Amy Norman. I'm an Inuit from Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Labrador, in the northeastern part of Turtle Island in what is now known as Canada. So Labrador is the mainland part of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, which is the most easterly province in Canada. As Inuit, my family originates from Northwest River and Nain in Nunatsiavut, which is the Inuit territory in northern Labrador. I am a part of a collective called the Labrador Land Protectors. We're an Indigenous-led grassroots organization with members from the three local Indigenous peoples, the Innu of Nitassinan, Nunatsiavumiut, and Nunatuhavumiut, as well as settler allies. We also have a large membership from the Grand River Keepers. We are fighting against the development of the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric project. This is a mega dam being built by Nalcor Energy, the Provincial Crown Energy Corporation, and the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and it is backed by the federal government of Canada. It's about 20 miles upstream from my hometown. It is located on one of the largest rivers in Canada, known as the Churchill River by the Canadian government, but we have been reclaiming its original name, Mistashipu, or the Grand River. Now, hydropower has somehow acquired a reputation of being good, clean energy, but let me tell you, mega dams cause mega damage. Hydroelectricity is not clean, it is not green, and it is actively hurting us as Indigenous peoples. Muskrat Falls has been fraught with issues since the beginning. When this project was sanctioned, the provincial government left out 2 of the 3 Indigenous peoples in the area. Inuit downstream were never consulted to give free and prior informed consent. And the construction of the dam site is built upon one of the most sacred sites to the Innu, Manitutru, or Spirit Mountain. Furthermore, the banks of the Grand River are extremely unstable. The type of soil that this mega dam is being built on is called quick clay, which is exactly what it sounds like. With any amount of pressure or agitation, it can just liquefy and suddenly wash away. There have been landslides on the banks of the Grand River, and traditional knowledge passed down from our elders tells us not to build anything there. The provincial government is ignoring our traditional knowledge and is trying to put a massive mega dam there. Knowing it can all wash away at any moment has some people downstream sleeping with life jackets under their beds. My people are terrified at the danger looming over us, not to mention the cost overruns. What started as a $6 billion project has ballooned into $12 billion and counting. But what angers me most, what fuels my fire in this fight, is the environmental impacts on our lands. Muskrat Falls will cause significant methylmercury contamination. Methylmercury is a neurotoxin that is released when the vegetation and organic plant matter are submerged in water. It then bioaccumulates or builds up in fat stores as it progresses in our food web. The plankton and the other small creatures eat the plant matter, and then the fish eat the plankton, and the seals eat the fish, and we eat the seals, and we get all of that methylmercury. All of the methylmercury that every creature that it ever ate. And this bioaccumulation is particularly harmful because we hunt and fish from these waters. That is our culture. That is our way of life. By contaminating our country foods and the food sources of our traditional diet, Nalcor Energy and the provincial government is cutting us off from our way of life. What is especially insidious about the methylmercury contamination is the government is actively choosing to go ahead with this, knowing exactly what they're doing to us. The Nunatsiavut government partnered with Harvard to do a study on exactly how bad this contamination would be. Now, mercury levels of Inuit in the area are already higher than the general Canadian population. Research shows that Muskrat Falls would cause a further 14-fold increase in mercury levels. And for Inuit that consume mostly country foods, mercury exposure could increase as much as 1,500%, pushing us well above the guidelines set out by Health Canada and the Environmental Protection Agency. And it could all be avoided if Nalcor cleared the dam's reservoir of all of the vegetation before releasing the water levels. By clearing the reservoir, the plant matter that creates the methylmercury wouldn't be there to release this toxin, and Inuit downstream, we wouldn't be poisoned. And I'm not even touching on, the environmental impacts to our river and all of the many tributaries that flow into it. It's devastating our lands. Our lands will be changed forever. Trap lines and homes submerged underwater forever. Sacred sites submerged forever. And nor does it cover the massive footprint of building a dam this size. Mega dams are a huge, huge source of methane emissions, contributing 1 billion tons of greenhouse gases every year. The mega dams are not clean, they are not green, and they are so harmful. So all of this fueled large-scale protests last year, and the resistance reached a boiling point in October of 2016. There were highly publicized hunger strikes. There were violent arrests and a five-day-long occupation of the Muskrat Falls worksite. It was all brought to a screeching halt when the provincial government met with the president of the Nunatsiavut government, the president of the Nunatuhabut Community Council, and the Grand Chief of the Innu Nation. Their meeting was 11 hours long, and by the end of it, they reached a deal where the provincial government agreed to clear the reservoir for all vegetation and to have all decisions regarding the project made by science-based research. Our hunger strikers ate smoked fish, and our land protectors occupying the camps left the worksite in celebration of what seemed like a win. Now, over a year later, and the government has broken all of its promises. The vegetation was never cleared. The science, both the Western-based science in terms of the research from Harvard and our traditional knowledge, they were all ignored. They kept on full steam ahead, knowingly poisoning us and harming us all. The resistance to Muskrat Falls has continued, and Nalcor and the government are doing everything they can to silence us. Over 65 land protectors have been charged or arrested for our involvement in occupations or rallies. Police violently arrested a young Inuk woman. They've sent 4 of our elders to jail, flying them over 600 miles to the provincial maximum security men's facility. This includes 2 Inuit women. They sent our grandmothers to the men's maximum security facility. Shame on them. I've personally been charged, and I'm currently fighting our colonial court system for standing up for my land and culture. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of when I was first summoned to court. Shame. Also charged and threatened with arrest is journalist Justin Brake. His reporting on the resistance in Muskrat Falls is essential, and his charges threaten freedom of the press, and many journalism and press freedom organizations are speaking out against the charges he faces. The justice response to our peaceful resistance movement has been so heavy-handed and unnecessary, all a ploy to keep us distracted while the courts carry on, and they carry on their destruction. But the mess of Muskrat Falls isn't just an issue for Labradorians or even Canadians. The impacts of this project are very far-reaching. And one piece of the puzzle that I haven't touched on yet is the connection here in Massachusetts. See, the province of Newfoundland and Labrador sanctioned this mega dam without having a buyer for all of this electricity that they would produce. They struck a deal with Emera, which is an energy corporation out of Nova Scotia. In return for Emera building the Maritime Link, which is a subsea cable running from the island of Newfoundland to the province of Nova Scotia, the province of Newfoundland would give Emera power from Muskrat Falls at no cost for the next 35 years. So now Emera is looking to build another subsea cable running from Nova Scotia to here in Massachusetts. They're looking to take over the Entergy Pilgrim nuclear power station here in Plymouth, just below Cleft Rock. So the province of Newfoundland and Labrador is giving away dirty hydroelectric power to Nova Scotia, who is trying to sell it here in Plymouth and all across the Northeast. And guess what we get in Labrador? Not a single thing. We will not get enough power to light a single light bulb. There are communities on the coast of Labrador who still run on dirty diesel generators, while this monster in our own backyard is shipping power off for free. Muskrat Falls is a textbook example of modern colonialism. Canadian governments are imposing a harmful, dangerous mega project on Indigenous peoples that never consented to its construction. They're building it on top of sacred sites. They're poisoning our traditional foods, and they're cutting us off from our ways of life. They're throwing us in jail for protecting our land and waters. This is cultural genocide. And the devastating thing is, it's not even a unique situation. Projects all across Turtle Island are hurting us all. And whether they're mega dams like Muskrat Falls or Site C, whether they're pipelines like Keystone XL or the Dakota Access Pipeline, or other gas storage products like Alton Gas in Nova Scotia, mining projects in Barrier Lake, resource extraction is harmful. Resource extraction is killing us, and resource extraction is killing our lands and our cultures. This is why solidarity across Indigenous peoples is so important. My struggle is your struggle, and it might have a different face, but we're all fighting the same beast. And the name of that beast is colonialism. Being here today, bearing witness to all our struggles, is so powerful. It is so crucial to speak truth on what we face as Indigenous peoples, especially days on so-called Thanksgiving, where the dominant narrative is colonial myth. We need to fight misinformation, and I'm so grateful to everyone speaking their truths today. To my Indigenous cousins from all over, keep up the good fight. To our non-Indigenous allies and accomplices here today, I implore you, know whose land you're on, get to know us, get to know our struggles, examine your role and how you're complicit in these struggles, and stand with us as we fight our battles against colonialism in all its forms. Thank you. Nakamik.